All right, welcome. My name is Will Moss. I am the CEO of HBCU Connect. And in this evening or this afternoon's event, depending on where you're located, we are going to be presenting Visa and some of the great opportunities that they have at the company. It's going to be a great opportunity for you to connect, engage, and network. So definitely take advantage of this opportunity to learn more, to ask questions, to engage in our breakout sessions in the latter part of our event. But first, we're going to, introduce our keynote and introduce some of our panelists. But let me go over the agenda for this evening so that everyone is on the same page on expectations for this event. So we're super excited to have you. First, I will go through a quick welcome and introduce myself and introduce HBCU Connect for any of you that are new to attending one of our events and new to HBCU Connect. Talk a little bit about our background, our partnership with Visa, and the opportunity for you. Then I will introduce our keynote speaker, who will give you a little bit more background on Visa and the opportunities available, and more importantly, for us to get to know her a little bit better and what she currently does at Visa. Once our keynote is finished, I will introduce each of our panelists and the team members that have volunteered their time from Visa team to talk a little bit about themselves, their path to Visa, what they currently work on at Visa, their current role, and what some of the opportunities are on their role, and some of what their experiences have been working so far at Visa. So it'll be a great opportunity for you to get to know them better, to get a little bit of context of who is presenting and who you're speaking with, and then we'll go into our panel discussion and live Q&A. So during that panel discussion, I have set aside a few questions that I'm going to ask the panel to get to know them individually and the Visa culture. So we'll ask a few questions. We'll have some dialogue about the Visa culture to get to know the company a little bit better. And then I'm going to offer you all the opportunity to drop some questions in the chat. And then I will ask those questions from the chat to our panelists for your benefit, right? And then so we'll have that panel discussion, we'll have a live Q&A, and then also, something that's unique to our Visa events is we like to do breakout sessions to allow you to engage and network at even a higher level. So you'll be able to turn on your video, you'll be able to use the raise hand feature and the reaction feature in Zoom to ask questions of the different team members in a technical, track and a non-technical track in those breakout sessions. Then once those breakout sessions are over, we have about 5 minutes left in the event. I'll invite everybody back into the main lobby room where we are now. And then we'll talk about next steps for potentially landing an interview for an opportunity at Visa. And they may be internship opportunities, they may be recent grad opportunities. We want to definitely give you those next steps. All right, so let's jump into a quick introduction of myself. Again, my name is Will Moss, CEO and founder of HBCU Connect. HBCU Connect for me was a passion project many years ago as I graduated from Hampton University with a computer science background. I wanted to create a way to stay in touch with my classmates and other students that went to Hampton University, but I was in corporate America and I worked with other HBCU graduates, and they said, hey, don't just create that resource for HBCU, for Hampton students, create it for all HBCU students, because at that time when I graduated, there was no Facebook, there was no LinkedIn. Right, there were not too many social networks out there. So we created HBCU Connect as a social network for HBCU students and graduates and African-American and diverse professionals to take advantage of different types of opportunities, not only to connect, but also to connect with internship opportunities, for scholarship opportunities, and then jobs after graduation, or maybe you've been out in the workforce for a while and you want to stay connected to opportunities or stay connected to some of your classmates, or meet and network with new people. That is what HBCU Connect is all about. We organically got into the recruitment space through some partnerships that developed with companies that said, hey, we see that you have this database of HBCU students. Can we post our job opportunities? Can you get resumes from your members so that we can reach out to them and offer career opportunities? And so that's kind of what leads us up to today in our relationship with Visa. So we have a new relationship with Visa, just started this year. This is our second of at least 4 events that we're going to do over the next 6 or so months with Visa. The first event was held about a month ago, very successful event and turnout. And in this event, we're super excited for you guys to learn more about Visa and their opportunities. So one thing about HBCU Connect and these events that we host, they are not just show and tell. These events are meant for you to have the opportunity to potentially land an internship after the event, or a job after you graduate, or to be a part of a special recruitment program that Visa has to offer. So I really encourage you all to follow those next steps towards the end of the event and to engage now and network with the Visa team. All right, so that's a quick introduction of myself, but let me go ahead and introduce our keynote speaker. So our keynote is going to be Dissy Akpakboa, who is VP of Third Party Lifecycle Risk Management. So Dissy, if you're ready.
Thank you so much. And you did do a good job with the last name. I know it can be a little bit challenging. Thank you so much for having me over today. I'm happy to share a little bit about Visa, about myself, what I do, and also discuss a few reasons why I like working here, of course. So if you can go to the next slide. So what I can tell you guys about Visa is that we have very ambitious goals. The stated mission for the company is to connect the world in order to enable individuals, businesses, and economies to thrive. Ultimately, I can say that Visa is a successful payment platform. It's present in our lives, ever so present in our lives, whether you're making a purchase, whether you're sending money to a friend, or whether you are building a business and you want to move money to another business. Visa's technology is behind billions of dips, swipes, clicks, and taps around the world. And very few companies have the impact that Visa does around the world. If I want to talk about a few numbers, we have more than 3.5 billion Visa cards in market, 70 million merchant locations, 50,000 plus financial institutions clients, one of the largest payment technology networks, present in over 200 countries and territory. From a payment volume perspective, cash transactions in 2020 surpassed 11 trillion. But what I want to say is that Visa, unlike some of our competitors, we don't make money on the amount of money that's being spent. We make money just by the sheer fact that people swipe. We make money at the transaction level. So in terms of transactions, in 2020 alone, there was about 204 billion transactions. 550 million transactions every single day. Behind each of these numbers and the transactions are extraordinary individuals that I work with, and they ensure the stability, security, and reliability of the global payment ecosystem. I work with wonderful people in technology org, in the product org, call centers, client services, consulting, corporate organization. I think every single function you can think of, we have at Visa. So you don't necessarily have to be a techie to have to be interested. We represent a lot of various disciplines. So how do I fit into this picture? Can we go to the next slide? I'll talk a little bit about what I do. So I lead our third-party risk management team globally. And what does that mean? The focus of my team is really protecting Visa. So I work within the risk organization, and our focus is really to make sure that we challenge the way that Visa engages key suppliers or partners that we deal with in the payment ecosystem. My team makes sure that when Visa decides to contract with a supplier, to sign a contract with a supplier, we indeed create the best experience for Visa customers. And we make sure that we bring our suppliers safely on board. So Zoom being an example, this Zoom, Bank of America, IBM, we want to make sure that whoever we do business with follows the most strict standards when it comes to information security, financial health, reputation, compliance, and so on. I've been at Visa for 4 years. It's my third role. It's my second promotion, and I think my sixth manager as part of this organization. And all this to say that you don't necessarily join Visa because you're looking for a stable 9-to-5 predictable job. I'm sure some people are, and they get that, but that wasn't my experience. I really joined the company because I wanted to build a career, and I wanted to set a few stretch goals for myself. I did join Visa as a professional hire with about 15 years of progressive experience. but joining Visa still felt like a first job to me because there was just so much to learn. It's been an exciting experience though, and it kind of took me full circle. I'm originally from West Africa. I was born in Ivory Coast. So maybe that's where the weird accent comes through. I was born in West Africa. I lived in Canada, and then I moved to California 4 years ago. So it's a big mix there going on. But with Visa, interesting enough, because we have offices everywhere, I was able to work from the Ivory Coast office, from the Nigeria office. Opportunities for assignments are really limitless. That's one of the things I love about working here. So I lead a risk team. My background wasn't necessarily in risk to begin with. I graduated with a bachelor in finance. So finance was what my head was at the time. I got a CFA certification, chartered financial analyst. I started my career in treasury and negotiating, hedging, and financing contracts. So in a way, I was already learning how to mitigate financial risks. And then with my next experiences with KPMG and PwC, I've expanded my scope a little bit. And I think these were all very helpful because I think Visa is a company that looks for people who are polyvalent. And regardless of what your background is, I think you can be sure that you're going to expand one way or the other in order to be successful. You're going to have to be curious, you're going to have to be flexible. And you're going to have to be willing to jump on projects that you may not necessarily be comfortable with. We can move on to the next slide. I wanted to cover a couple of points about Visa, a few things that I feel pretty proud about in terms of what the company is doing. The first thing is community and capacity building is really at the core of Visa's strategy. I think in the prior years, in the early years of Visa, it was really known to be like a bit of a luxury brand. But I think over the years, the focus has changed or has expanded to be more community-based, more small business-based, more focused on sustainability and social impact initiatives, and really putting dollars, expertise, and commitments behind key causes hitting home for me. Beyond the social impact, it's also an innovative company. The reason why I moved from consulting, and I was consulting just with financial institutions, to a tech company was really to get that exposure working with people who were creative and just knowing that I will be set on a constant innovation cycle. So whether you're in a connected car or transit or using a home appliance or wearable like a smartwatch or a bracelet, Visa is constantly thinking about new ways for payments to occur ahead of the trends. Another factor to consider if you're thinking about Visa as a future, as a place to build a future career, is that it's a company investing in its people. And it's not, and by investing, I don't just mean, training and education, but I think in terms of pay, it is a pretty competitive, company in the tech industry. The benefits also, I think, are unmatched. I think Visa is one of those few companies offering life-changing benefits, supporting families like IVF treatment coverage or emergency childcare, and especially during the pandemic. And I can compare it because I joined with previous other experiences under my belt, but I can say that Visa has been best in class in terms of supporting its employees and being flexible. If we go to the next page, I wanted to talk about the whole aspect of social injustice. And I know a lot of companies are talking about standing against social injustice. And yes, we talk about it. Yes, we have forums about it. Yes, we promote our leaders. We try to attract a diverse base. But I also wanted to say that it's just part of our basis operating model. As I mentioned before, my job is to look at the key suppliers that Visa is onboarding and looking at it from a risk perspective. But I'm at the table when we discuss things like, hey, well, maybe if we want to access a more diverse employee base, maybe we should set up a new office. Maybe we should set up an Atlanta office. There's no reason why we wouldn't cover that market to begin with. But also, since we're gonna hire a bunch of construction companies and contractors to help us do so, what percentage of our budget do we want to earmark for for diverse suppliers, or what kind of contractual clauses or RFI clauses do we want to make sure that whichever builder we go with can demonstrate, what is their stance on, racial justice, or how do they rely on power economically the vendors on site locally. So I think that's something that's close to my heart, because it's one thing talking about things and even throwing dollars at things, but making it part of key strategic decisions that the company takes, I think, is taking it to another level. And I want to finish by saying this, and you can go to the next slide, that whether you aspire to be an engineer, a designer, risk manager, anything in between, you can make your mark at Visa, and you can dream up new ideas, and you can get a lot of exposure, being exposed to some of the most advanced technology. And I want to say that for those who want to build a career, but also be part of initiatives that have social impact and that go beyond the business world and into real communities, I would say that it's also a place where you can make a community building effort real. So I wanted to end on that note.
So Dissy, thank you. I wanted to personally thank you for being our keynote for our event. But I always like to have like a couple of follow-up questions, for all of our presenters, just so the candidates can kind of get to know you a little bit better. So you've been at Visa for roughly 4 years?
Correct.
So in those 4 years, what is it that you like most about working for Visa?
I would say it felt like a very flat organization, because it didn't take long for me to, meet or interact with all C-level executives. I think just the approachability of the leadership, I think, is something I haven't seen elsewhere. And I think in a way, maybe that's what helped me progress so fast over the past 4 years. It's just the access and being able to sell your ideas and being able to disagree and explain why, and explain, hey, maybe I would do this a different way, and being given the chance. So I would say leadership access has made a big difference for me over the past 4 years.
And I noticed that you have worked at other companies and corporations. What would you say is different? So if I'm a candidate and I'm interested in potentially working at Visa, and maybe I've had some internships at other companies, or I've worked at other companies, what would you say are some of the differences about the culture that you've seen at Visa as compared to other companies?
I mean, it depends, because again, I'm not saying that Visa is a company for everyone, but I think even if you have a domain expertise, but you want to be somewhere where you're not hired to do a job or stay within one area and expected to be there 10 years or even 5 years,
yep.
Then I think this is probably the place to be, because from an investment perspective, they give people chances. Like once you're in and you want to discover another area, I think the mobility aspect of things is encouraged. It's not frowned upon. I think in some other areas, it's like, well, if you're a marketing guy, like you want to do finance now, like you don't know where you want to go with your career. Not the case at all at Visa. It can be in marketing. You can do go-shares, which means you can spend part of your week with another team if there's mutual interest, to learn along and figure out, is that where you want to go your career or not? And that will be rewarded. You won't be penalized for that, but that will be well regarded. So I think that's a key difference with other corporations, where people tend to be protective of their people.
Okay.
I think here managers want to see people grow, and they get credited for allowing their people to move around and discover what their potential can truly be within the company.
Awesome. So one last question for you. If I was a candidate and I was lucky enough to land an interview at Visa, what advice would you give me as a candidate for my interview with Visa?
I would just say, I don't want to sound cliche about like saying it yourself, and I don't know if it's necessarily like a American thing. When I landed my interview, and I was living in Canada when I landed my interview while I was with Visa, and it was, so first of all, like I would say, just pace yourself, because you're probably gonna talk to a lot of people. I spoke to maybe like 12, 15 people.
Okay.
From the team and the team above them, all the way to the CRO. So I would say, pace yourself And I would say connect with visa. Don't try to pretend that you know all about visa, because there's no way you're going to know all about visa.
Okay.
I've been here 4 years. I'm still learning a lot about how, even like the how we make money part, right? You're gonna learn like, hey, there's new ways to make money all the time. So I don't think you want to, land an interview and pretend that, yes, I'm the visa expert. Because people interviewing you is probably still learning, and they'll probably call you out on a few things. So you want to be there, you want to show up as someone who's willing to learn. You have something to bring. You want to be surrounded by smart people. And you like to work with people who are smarter than you. I think that always like ends well. Yeah. But you want to be surrounded by creative people, and you want to be part of this learning journey that they're on, right? I think take that attitude versus showing up, oh, I know everything about visa because of a Google search.
Excellent advice. So Dizzy, I want to thank you for being our keynote, and I'll ask you to hang on for our panel discussion a little bit later. Sound good?
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so let me go ahead and introduce our panel. So what we have the opportunity to do now is get a little bit of background about our panelists so that you all as candidates have an idea of who you're speaking to. So if they say something about their background that piques your interest, you can go ahead and ask questions in the chat and engage. And then also in our breakout sessions, you can have some interesting conversations with our panelists. So please listen in, and let me go ahead and introduce our first panelist, who is Natalie DeLille, Business Associate in the New Grad Development Program. So Natalie, if you're ready.
Thanks, Will. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie DeLille, and I'm currently a part of Visa's New Grad Development Program. I graduated from Howard University in May 2019, and I'm currently based in DC. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. So I'm coming up on my 2 years at Visa. And so this program is extremely unique because I've been on 4 teams since I've joined Visa. My first role was in marketing, where I got to support some of our travel clients, portfolio optimization initiatives. My second rotation was in risk. So I actually got to work with Dissy for a few weeks on a project. So that was an amazing experience. My third rotation was in social impact, specifically supporting the Visa Foundation team. That was another amazing experience. And my current role is on the Global Strategic Execution team. So what does that mean? We just work on some key priority projects like with the President's Office, especially around responsible artificial intelligence and data use. So I'm a huge advocate for the NGDP program and just like being at Visa in general. I've truly, truly enjoyed my time at the company. My class is starting to get like up to their 2-year mark at their respective full-time jobs. And you can definitely tell, like some people are not happy, but I can say that my coworkers, my colleagues, and everyone has been truly amazing. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward to chatting with you a bit like on the panel and in the breakout sessions.
So quick question. Can you tell us a little bit more about the requirements to get into the NGDP program, or how did you actually, learn about it and get involved in the program?
So I learned about it from 2 Howard alum that were currently in the program. So there are actually a handful of Howard University alumni that have come through this program. And so everyone just spoke like very highly of it. And so I did 3 on-campus interviews at the time. And then I flew into the Foster City office and did a super day with 4 back-to-back interviews. The main requirement is that you have to be in your last year of getting your bachelor's degree. And I think they accept many, many majors, and you don't have to have like a business major. We have history majors, theater majors in this program. I think the main thing that they're looking for is for you to be innovative, a self-starter, to take someone that takes initiative. And yeah, I know there's like probably like some other like specific requirements
Sure.
that can be found on the website, but overall, the main thing is being a senior in college.
And then what was the interview process like for you to jump into the program?
It was intense. It was intense, but what I would say is that I knew that Visa was coming on campus, and so they had like information sessions where we got to network. So I'm pretty sure this is the case at many universities. Like you do get to interact with the people at the company before interviews. If you reach out to anyone, they'll be more than happy to support you through the interview process. And like when I got to my interviews on campus, like everyone was very personable and excited to be there. And even when I got to the office to do my super day, once again, everyone was advocating for you. Like they weren't asking like trick questions or anything like that. Like they were truly rooting for you, like in their interview. And so I felt like extremely confident and comfortable like going through that process.
Do you, as a part of the program, have you had to travel in your different roles, or it's pretty much out of the same office?
So I actually did get to travel. So my first rotation was before we got locked down for the pandemic. So in my first rotation, I did get to go to client meetings. Like I went to LA, Chicago, Miami. It's like a really great time being able to be in person. But with the pandemic, the rest of my 3 rotations have been remote. Okay. But one of the things that is an option, I don't know, when we'll be out of the pandemic, is that like for your 3rd rotation, you do have the opportunity to apply to go abroad. So you can do your entire 6 months rotation internationally. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that because of the pandemic, but that is something that we were, that was on the table. So I'm assuming that once the pandemic is over, this is something that will resume.
Awesome, awesome. So to our candidates that are interested in the new grad development program, Natalie is an HBCU grad from Howard University. She's currently in the program. So if you have questions for Natalie specifically, prior to the breakout sessions, feel free to drop those questions in the chat. And Natalie, I'll ask you to keep an eye on the chat. But one more question before I introduce our next panelist. So the benefit for you being in the program, I imagine, is that you'll get to experience different parts of the business. And then once you kind of graduate from the program, for lack of better words, do you kind of figure out the best fit and then you can kind of choose which one you go into, or it's a mutual thing?
Yes, so exactly what you're saying. You get to have that cross-functional experience of the business. All of your managers are extremely invested into your growth as a new grad. And yes, so it's funny because like through my 3rd and 4th rotation, like I really found like what I wanted to do after the program. So I got to be on the social impact team and now working on like responsible AI and like making sure that our products and services are fair across all populations. So after the program, I'll be going to the social impact team as an inclusion and diversity analyst. And so, yes, that's exactly what the program is for. It kind of like helps you figure out what you want to do, what you like. And coming out of college, I was not sure. Like I was a marketing major. And so like my only role in marketing was my first one. And then for the rest of them, I kind of just like took some risk and decided to explore like my passions and interests. And I think a huge part of the program for me is the exposure to senior leadership. Okay. You get to work with senior leaders from day one. And I think that that's a very unique opportunity that I don't hear like across many companies.
That's awesome. So the new grad development program sounds like an awesome opportunity to our candidates out there. So I'm sure our candidates are going to have some questions. So if you want to drop those questions in the chat, I'll ask Natalie to keep an eye on the chat. And then of course, we'll have our breakout sessions where you all can dialogue more and ask questions and engage. Thanks, Natalie. All right, so Natalie, if you want to hang on for our panel discussion, I will go ahead and introduce our next panelist. So our next panelist is Paul Nierbas. Paul is the Director of Development on the payment platform within Visa. So Paul, if you're ready.
Yes, absolutely. First off, I have to be blatant and honest. I usually am pretty good at talking to large groups, but for whatever reason, I am really nervous today. So if I stumble over my words, just ignore me.
No need to be nervous, man. We're all going to just enjoy learning from your background and experience. So welcome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. So it's funny. I am looking through all of the screens and everything, and I'm going, oh man, we should have added this, and oh, we should have added this, and so I'll try to be brief. I'm actually a director and of development for a group inside Visa called CyberSource, and CyberSource is this like, it's what we call a merchant facing arm of Visa. And all that means is like when you go out and buy something, you're a consumer and you work with a bank and they give you a credit card, and that's all good. What our team does and what CyberSource does is we work with the person trying to sell something. So if you're out there, if Nike wants to sell their shoes or Facebook wants to do something that involves a credit card, we're the folks that do that. That's CyberSource, and it's pretty cool in the scheme of things. No other credit card company does this. It's very unique to Visa. So I'm going to be blunt and honest with you folks. I'm here for a selfish reason, and it's that I need to hire people. I have openings for internships. I really like working with interns, and I have openings for new college grads. And I am doing what I can to meet good and qualified candidates. And so I'm here to let you know that I've put my LinkedIn link in. Please reach out to me if you're interested in computer science or that engineering type of thing. That's what we do. Now, my background is interesting. If you go look, you'll see my LinkedIn profile says Paul Nurbas developer, and it kind of represents the journey I've taken. I've done a lot of different things in technology. I've been lucky enough to do a lot of different things. And I finally landed here at Visa probably about 7 years ago now. But the joke here at Visa is I'm version 2.0. And the reason is I came and I worked for Visa as a staff software engineer in about 2013 or so. They had scalped me from a company I'd been working with for about 17 years. You might know Motorola. They make cell phones. And they were converted to a company called Freescale. And anyways, I had done a lot of work with them. I had done stuff from solid state research to analytical science, and finally got into this software world where I was building manufacturing stuff. So I came over to Visa, and I worked as a staff engineer in this CyberSource place where we're building what we call gateways. It's just a lot of computer junk that allows people to connect to credit cards, or in this case, merchants, allowing them to sell things. And about the same time I was building my own business, and 3 years into working with Visa, I decided I'm going to go off and I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the jump and I'm going to jump off and I'm going to go ahead and build my own business. And so for 4 years, I slogged around as a small business owner, doing my own work. And that was a great experience. But the largest thing I got from that is that I really liked working with Visa. And so I came back. And my old boss, he said, hey, look, we're really looking to build another team. Would you like to come over and be the director for it? And I did. I came back to Visa and I started working. The interesting thing about my background is that I literally am the second person in my family to go to college. So my older brother went before me, and I always respected him. Like, oh, John, yeah, this is great. But with that, I brought some unique experiences. Now, 23 years later, I look back, and I'm always educating my kids on what I didn't know 23 years ago, going into the college, into my my professional world out of college. And there's a lot there that I think that it can offer. And one of the things I really like to do is when I'm working with my new college grads, or I'm working with the interns, is really highlight that you are in a place now that isn't the end of your journey. And I know you may not feel that way, but it's 100% at the start of the journey, and the doors and opportunities that are available now for you. It's something that I hope that y'all don't take lightly. There are so many doors and paths ahead of you from this point to the point where I am today. And I think one of the things that I'm always very excited about with Visa is that we get that opportunity to bring in what we call new talent and provide direction, not just on the hey, here's the day-to-day things to do, but really just on career development. What is it that you aspire to be, and how can we help you to get there? One of the things that I always tell my employees is, I want to give you the tools you can use so that when you do your next interview, you're going to be able to nail that interview. And I want you to stay working with me, but if I find that you got the job, you was your heart's desire, the next step in that, and it was because of what we did for you, then I know we did a good job. And so that's my background, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you folks.
So I would love to dive in and get a peek. So if I'm a candidate, right, and I just so happen to have a computer science background and did a couple internships and went, and worked 10 years in corporate America before starting HBCU Connect. So this is really exciting to me, the opportunities, for interns and for recent grads. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you see when you look at the internship program? If you were to describe it to me as a candidate, what is it like to intern on your team, for example?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question. Thanks for asking it. So what happens, I think, the most important thing, and I've worked with many interns over many years, so they bring their previous experience with them. So from that, I kind of hear what's happening on other internship programs. And one of the things that I can say that's very specific about Visa's program is that when you come in as an intern, we don't want you to be we don't want you to be an intern. We want you to be a software engineer. So my interns are specifically computer science majors or software majors or electrical engineers or people that are very specifically doing technology. And when we bring them in, what we want to do is we want to make sure that their experience here is a full experience, so that at the end of in my case, we're 3 months internships. I really want that member of my team to feel like they've contributed. So a lot of the work that we'll do is we'll at least this is we do this in different ways, but the way that I like to do it is I'll probably meet a couple candidates in about this time frame, and I'll start meeting with them, and we'll find that perfect fit for the team. And at that time, what I'll do is personally, I'll be reaching out to that candidate over the next 6 months until the internship program asks them, what are you interested in? What do you want to learn? What do you want to grow in? And we'll kind of tailor make that project. But it's not one of these projects where an intern will sit in a corner and develop a web page and go get the coffee, kind of thing. Our experience is that we want this to be an actual important added value to CyberSource. And so by the end of this, the internships are the goal from my team is to, in many cases, I want my interns to have a technical innovation that they can put on the resume and say that, hey, I have a technical patent, or I have a technical design that was approved through Visa. And that's the goal. That's the goal. Now, I want to say that there's another piece of it. That's the day-to-day, hey, I want you to be a software engineer. The second part of it is the immersion in the actual intern program. Your experience as an intern should not just be about coming in, learning how to code in Java, let's say. It should be learning how to connect and socialize with those other 40 or 50 or 30 interns that are there. Because we're Visa, and we're going to be picking the top software, top talent in the world, in the United States. And these are going to be connections that you're going to have for the rest of your life. So Visa gives plenty of opportunity to develop that type of connection and social networking, so that after the internship, you're staying connected with these people, for the longest time. Now, I did an internship program a long time ago, but I can tell you that it was a program very similar to what Visa had, and I still connect with these people that were in that internship program with me today. And so that those two are probably the biggest goals of this program is to make sure that you've been fully immersed and you're making the connections you need to succeed.
Is there anything similar or kind of that parallels the new grad development program for those that are on a technical track? Or
there is we have programs that involve rotations. Now, the specifics, I'm going to have to punt a little bit on this because this is handled through a different team that does this. But yes, there are programs that handle rotations in the engineering committee.
Awesome. So Paul, I want to thank you for being one of our panelists, and I'll ask you to hold on or hang on for our panel discussion. But to our candidates, if you have a question specifically for Paul that you'd like to drop in the chat or that you'd like to ask in the breakout session, get ready to do so. All right, so thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
All right, our next panelist is going to be Madhavi. Madavi is a senior database administrator, and Madavi, I'll ask you to pronounce your last name so I don't butcher it.
My last name is Chinnamma Reddy.
Welcome. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. And I want to introduce myself. I have been working in Visa for the last 8 years, and I have a degree in computer science for engineering degree. I have worked at various places here in Denver, Colorado, and I am proud to call Colorado as my hometown because I have been here last 22 years working in various places, specifically in software IT. I love coding, development, solving problems, establishing communication with other teams, and troubleshooting techniques.
Awesome. And so what was your path to Visa? Like, how did you end up working at Visa?
So I started my career in the state of Colorado District Attorney's Council, still in the mainframes and COBOL coding. Yep. And when a new position came up at Visa, which was very challenging and interesting, it is like a .NET UI SQL Server database. That is always my passion. And I also had a couple of friends who worked at Visa, and I have heard great things about this company, and I started to apply and went through a couple of interviews and got hired.
Awesome, awesome. And so can you talk a little bit about what is the day in the life like for you at Visa? What is it? Mostly meetings? Is it mostly writing code? Is it, code reviews? What is the day in the life like for you?
A good point. Every day is a dream. It's like there is coding days, there is troubleshooting days, there is jumping in meetings days, code reviews. End of the day, we are very passionate. Our team is very passionate about the work, what we do, and we get pulled in different directions when needed. And there is nothing like there is a certain specific thing that each and individual work in my team, especially if there is somebody, an expert in some technical knowledge, we try to get them in for solving a technical issue. So it is like a combination of everything.
Do you currently work from the office or are you working from home?
Currently, I am working from home.
And is that something that started like after the pandemic, or were parts of your team working from home before?
My team never worked from home. I was always in the office. It's like I'm there at 7:30 and then boom, 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 getting things done, work. And then the pandemic is the one that is making us work from home. I would love to get back to office.
What location were you working out of?
Highlands Ranch office in Colorado.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So Madavi, I'm going to thank you for also being one of our panelists, and I'm going to ask our other panelists to go ahead and turn on your video feed, and we will get ready to start our panel discussion. So while you all prepare and get your video feed ready, I'm going to spotlight everyone so that we can see your beautiful faces. Let's see, Paul. Let's see here. Spotlight Dissy. And Natalie, let's see. All right, so let me go ahead and take down my slides and then we'll get started. So to our candidates that are with us, make sure if you have any questions that you can drop those questions in the chat. And what I'll do after I ask a couple of the questions that I have lined up for our panelists, I will then go ahead and ask some of your questions so that we can have sort of a live discussion. And then after we finish our panel discussion with the awesome folks at Visa, then you'll have the opportunity to turn on your video, turn on your audio, and jump into the breakout rooms, either on a technical track for some of the technical opportunities, or a non-technical track for some of the non-technical opportunities. And then we'll kind of explain how that will work after our panel discussion. So if you got questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat or get ready to drop them in the chat. So let me go ahead and start with our first question. So let's see here, add to spotlight. Okay, so let me ask this first question. I'm going to try to get everyone involved. So I'm gonna start with this first question for Dissy, and that is, what advice would you like to give to our, our young candidates that are current college students or recent grads, what advice would you like to give them from a career perspective, if they're thinking about jumping into corporate America, potentially visa, or it could be, anywhere that they go after they graduate?
I would say to develop a sense of empathy and curiosity. I think like sometimes people are just so entrenched in the way they are, that they perceive the world or they perceive others. So I would say have that open-mindedness, right, of trying to see things, even at the interview level. I can tell you, like, for all the rounds of interviews at visa house, where whenever you can connect to people on a human level, which is actually the easiest part, I think you already have your foot in the door, because people can see themselves working with you. You spend a lot of hours, if not most of your life, at work, whether or not people like to admit it. So people want to work with other humans. It's a tech company, but ultimately it's humans driving it, and they want to see your humanity. I would say also to take a problem-solving approach to your career. Do not necessarily always go after the shiny objects, right? I think in terms of even career titles, segments, I think if what you care about is an upward career trajectory, go to the place that's on fire and ask that during the interviews. Ask them, like, why are you hiring me? Like, what is it that you're trying to solve? Versus solving, you can talk about how great you are, etc. And you saw the job description. Behind every job description, there's always a problem that we're trying to solve. And I think if you can show curiosity and you can show confidence that, okay, well, that seems to be pretty terrible, but you know what, like, I'm the guy for it. The job, not just entering, but I think my areas of promotions where people were like, oh my God, no, this has never worked. But then it's like, well, we need someone to do this. But once you can come up with the solution, then you ask to fix other problems. And before you know it, you are well on your path. So those are the advice I would give, I think, to the candidates on this slide.
Awesome advice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to mix in some of the questions. If I see a good question in the chat, I might as well go ahead and ask it. So the next question I'm going to pose to Natalie, and the question comes from one of our candidates, Bryn. And that is, what advice do you have regarding standing out in the new grad development program, both in the application process and the interview process?
So that's a great question. And just like piggybacking off of what Dissy said, I think your ability to express your curiosity is extremely important. Like I mentioned before, the NGP program specifically, and many of the other roles like at Visa, I think you may not necessarily 100% have the background. I'm speaking for non-technical roles. I can't say that for your team.
No, you're right. You're right. No, keep on going. It's good stuff.
But I think if you demonstrate your ability to be adaptable, to learn, to push yourself out of your comfort zone, I think that is really what the Visa is looking for. Also, I think I did a lot of research on Visa. Of course, I didn't understand the four-party model and all these other complex things, but just understanding where we're trying to go with our business and what the goals are of the company, and even doing research on the interviewers and learning a little bit about them and their background, and finding something that connects us, where we're similar. I think that will also really resonate with your interviewer. And as far as some things you can just do while you're on campus, of course, if you're able to have an internship over the summer, I think that definitely helps you show that you have some type of professional experience. But if you don't fret. I think there are many ways that you can be involved with extracurriculars on campus, be a part of a club or organization, and take initiative to have leadership positions in those organizations. So don't just be a member, but also try to be on the e-board, volunteer, be a mentor, just so that you're taking some initiative outside of being in the classroom.
Awesome advice.
Will, could I also jump in on that? A couple things.
Please do.
So but Natalie, that was perfect. And as a guy who's doing a lot of the interviews, I'll tell you that from an intern perspective, the excitement of someone interviewing for an internship position goes 90% of the way there. We want you to be excited about coming and working for Visa. We're excited for Visa. We want you to be excited for Visa. So that's one thing. Now, I'll also say the other side of this, as an intern, so I hire for a lot of technical positions, but the reality is that you're as an intern, you might not have those technical skills yet. But one of the things that we love to see is someone who shows an interest in what they're trying to be hired for. So, and that's in leadership positions. Absolutely. We see people who are leading, in our case, like software engineering caps for kids, excuse me, or they got some tech project they're working on. Those two items for an intern in a technical program stand out 100% of the way. And again, I will say on top of that, it's enthusiasm. If we have someone who's enthusiastic, who maybe doesn't have the experience, and we have someone with all the experience with no enthusiasm, we're going to probably go for the other person.
Awesome advice. So Paul, I have a follow-up question from the chat as well. So from our live Q&A, and that was, how has your entrepreneurial background helped you in your role at Visa?
Oh, that's fantastic. That's such a great question. So it's funny because I knew someone was going to ask me this question, and I'm trying to figure out how to say it without being cringy, but because it's kind of one of these things that people say, but it's okay to fail. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of stories that talk about success as two feet past failure. You're failing and you're not there, and you're failing and you're not there, and you want to give up, but you have this dream, right, or goal, and you just keep on pushing past that. And most success doesn't happen at the stopping point. It usually goes a couple feet more. And I think in the Visa space, really what that applies to is that, and we really have this kind of concept in technology, is that failure is a learning opportunity. It is not a fact for somebody to be browbeaten. When something fails, we don't give it a name. We don't say it's Paul's failure. What we'll say is, okay, what happened here and what do we learn? And the greatest opportunities that any of us are going to have, the greatest opportunity for growth and learning is going to be through our failures, because those are the opportunities that we've pushed the hardest on, that we've attempted to do. We may not have achieved it, but we always should go back and reflect upon that. And it's that reflection and the growth that comes from the reflection that makes the failure a part of growing. And so from an entrepreneurial experience, I would say that's it. I have a number of very successful businesses that I have worked on. I have some that I've actually failed miserably at, but the ones I failed miserably at are the ones that I keep on saying, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make that work a different way.
Awesome. Madhavi, I'd like to go ahead and ask you a question as well. So this is a fun, this is sort of a fun question for me, right? Because there's always for a candidate, when they go through the interview process, they say, you learn about Visa, you learn about the great internship program and the benefits for an intern, or you go to and you get a job after you graduated, and you learn about Visa and all the great things. But were there some things about Visa that you learned after you started that were sort of a surprise or non-advertised benefit about working for Visa?
Thank you. That's a good question. So what I would like to call out here is, one thing is working with the co-workers. Everybody is passionate about it, what they are doing, especially from an outstanding reputation based on the company. There is one thing is the team building. Each of us learn from each other. There is something that one person is great at, the other person is great at other things. So there is so much passion in teaching others. And like there are so many impressive leaders and role models like us, for example. So it has a great company culture. There's like, I would say like mind-blowing perks. Like one thing is like there's so much work opportunities. For example, if you are starting in a new position and first of all, getting into the door in any company for a job is hard. Internship is one way of getting it. So when somebody is as an intern in Visa, they are like learning a lot of company experience, how the team works, and a mentor is assigned to them, and they train them, they bring them up to speed where they can survive in any team inside Visa. And the other good opportunity is about Visa, not just this team, is like there's like good work-life balance. There's flexible schedules. Like if you want to continue for higher studies, education, there is other perks that comes with it. So there is like abundant like training opportunities. You can take like Visa University has like tons of courses. Like say for example, once you come in as a technical skill, I'm talking on my behalf. I'm working on a SQL Server databases right now, leading a team. And if I am going to go into the React technology where we are doing the OCAG and the VGOR like compliance, there are courses out there. I don't need to be getting stuck like, hey, oh my God, what do? I don't know that. I didn't learn that in college. So there are courses out there where the resources, the team members are ready to help with each other, and you can take the online course at Visa University and you are there. You can do your job.
Did anyone want to add anything to the maybe non-advertised benefits of working at Visa?
And maybe I can, from a leadership perspective, and again, I don't think anybody would expect that, but at the height of the pandemic, or when it really started, being taken seriously by a lot of people and people working from home, it was reassuring to get an email from our CEO that kind of guaranteeing that, hey, people are gonna keep their jobs.
Yeah.
So
That was really cool.
Yeah,
that's what's really cool. That, hey, you guys, like, no matter what happens, we're not letting anyone go. It's a pretty big company. Yeah. It's a pretty tough commitment. And that kind of was a moment where I was like, this is this is a pretty good time to be at this point, right? Where I had like my previous jobs were at risk elsewhere. So it was kind of good to know. And not just that, but I think right now, I can't speak for previous leaders or the future ones, but the current CEO of the company, I think has the way to be transparent about, hey, well, it might not be good, no, not doing very well, but I start making that commitment. Like no one is let go, even if that means that maybe the bonuses may be less at the end of the year. And when we're doing good, hey, by the way, at the end of the year, expect something good. And leaders were like, hey, it's not even the end of the year. Where's the CEO saying high people's pay expectation? But that was faced because it's like, it's transparent. So everybody, we make it together. If we lose money, well, everybody come down, not letting go of you guys because, you are part of this company. So for me, that's something I haven't seen elsewhere.
Yeah, Desi, I wanted to add on that. He didn't just say, I won't lay anybody off. His other words on this were, there's enough suffering during this COVID crisis. I will not add to it. That's what he said. And that was, I mean, I've been working, I think I'm 23 years. I've never worked for a CEO who has said something like that before. Never, not even close. So that was amazing. That was an amazing comment.
I think that's huge. It speaks to the culture. All right. So did someone else want to add anything to that? Or I've got one more question before we jump into our breakout sessions, and I kind of explain how that's going to work. But I'd be amiss if I didn't, speak to Natalie, if you want to share a little bit about your HBCU experience and how that maybe has prepared you for what you do now at Visa.
Yes, of course. So I would say that when I consider the importance of attending a historically Black college or university over PWI, my first sentiment is always the immense legacies that HBCUs carry. So I'm a Howard alum, so I can speak to that experience. And so Howard's Law School is currently in a building that is away from the undergraduate campus, but way back when, it used to be a part of our architecture building. And so in room 02, that is the main auditorium in that building. That is where Howard University's lawyers would meet to work on the major civil rights supreme cases of the 1950s and the 60s. They worked on most of the civil rights cases, right? And so nothing inspires me more than like the legacy of my HBCU and all HBCUs. I am like super proud to be a tenant of that legacy and just to be able to add to the work of the alumni and the groundbreakers before me. And I'm like almost certain that no one else could like celebrate my Blackness and like love me for my Blackness and push me and require excellence from me, like my HBCU. And I think that attending a HBCU also gives you the very unique opportunity to be the majority, which is not the case at all. And so as a result of this, I'm like very comfortable in my decision to attend an HBCU and who I am as a professional. I feel very adequately prepared like to work with leaders of all levels. I consistently push myself out of my comfort zone. And I just, I'm just like so happy that I made that decision. I am not someone like who grew up knowing much about HBCUs at all. Both of my sisters went to PWIs. I randomly stumbled across Delaware State University's campus my senior year of high school. And the feeling that I felt being there was just something I've never felt before. And so like I made it a priority to attend an HBCU like post-grad. And so I think that we suffer imposter syndrome as young people entering the workforce, but I always like go back to the toolkit that Howard gave me and all of my network across all a bunch of different HBCUs gave me, and know that like, I'm prepared like to be in this space, and I'm just as qualified as anyone else that may also like be in the same room as me. So
awesome. So with that, let's prepare to go into our breakout room. So we're going to have 2 breakout rooms, and let me pull up a slide. And thank you, Natalie, and thank you to our panelists. Very awesome insight for our candidates. So for our candidates, this is going to be a really good opportunity for you to network with the Visa team members, because like I said, we're going to have breakout sessions. So let me pull up my screen real quick. I'm going to share some quick instructions for the breakout rooms. But we have 2 breakout rooms. One is for technical opportunities, which will have Paul and Madavi and Reggie and Doug from my team. And then another breakout room for non-technical opportunities with Natalie, Dissy, and Tamika from my team. So in the breakout room, so a little bit of etiquette, right? So we're going to allow you to network. You can turn on your video. If you want to, you can go ahead and turn on your video now, just so you can get it prepared. You'll also have the ability to unmute yourself to ask your question. But in order to minimize any chaos with the asking of the questions, we're going to ask that you use the reactions. So if you see that there's 2 little icons on this screen here. One is for the breakout room. So when we're ready, I'll invite everyone, including the Visa team, to select the appropriate breakout room to join. And then once you're in the breakout rooms for our candidates, there's the reaction icon. So if you go to the reaction icon, there are options, and one of the options is to raise your hand. And then one of our moderators in the breakout rooms from the HBCU side, or even the Visa team, can choose folks that have raised their hand. And then once you've been selected, you can turn on your microphone or unmute yourself and ask your question to the Visa team members that are in those different rooms. So you can choose and select which room you like to go into. If you're dialing in and you need help getting placed into a room, I can help out with that, because I'm going to stay in the main lobby and I'll be able to manually put people in rooms. Now, if you have an older version of Zoom, or like I said, if you're on a phone, you have any issues, you may either want to update Zoom real quick before jumping into, or if you realize that you have any issues once you've gotten to the breakout rooms, but you should be able to unmute yourself and turn on your video feed. All right, so with that being said, let me go ahead and turn on the breakout rooms. One second here. I'm going to activate the breakout rooms. Once the breakout rooms are activated, you can, so they're open, you can jump into the breakout rooms manually through Zoom. So if you guys can actually go ahead and do that. If anyone has any trouble, just drop me a message in the chat and I can move you over to the breakout room, like I said, especially if you're dialing in or calling in. But to our panelists, please select the appropriate room. There's a technical room, and then there's a non-technical room that you should be able to jump into. And then, let me help. I can help you out. So let's see, Natalie. Let's see, Natalie. Let me see. Assign to non-technical.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Need some help too.
No problem. See to see. All right, fine to non-technical. All right, should automatically move you here in a second. There we go. Bryn, did you want me to move you to one of the rooms?
Yes, please. I don't think I'm updated on this laptop.
Which room?
Non-technical, please.
Got it.
Thank you so much.
Yep, you should be moved here shortly. All right. Anyone else, just drop me a message in the chat, and then I'll do my best to move you over. Okay, so let's see, Janelle, and then Paula. So Janelle, let me move you into the non-technical, and Paula into the technical. Sugar McKenzie, I'll move you into the technical. Anyone else, just drop me a message in the chat. Nello to technical. All right, anyone else that needs to be moved? Cynthia to the technical. Let's see here, Cynthia, technical. Taibat to technical. All right, awesome. If you have any issues with muting or unmuting, you might just have to update Zoom, but I can move you manually into the room. So if anyone else, just drop me a message in the chat, or if you're on a phone, you can just unmute yourself and then let me know which room you like to be placed into. So we've still got 15 folks in the main chat. So of you 15 folks that need help getting moved into the right group discussion, just let me know. So McLeod Reynolds, technical, no problem. Cloud, sign to technical. Okay, there you go. Jane Doe, technical. All right. Let's do it. Anybody else? Let me know. Anybody else need to be moved into one of the breakout sessions so you can interact with the Visa team? Let me know.
Hey, Will, I am not able to unmute or start my video in the breakout.
Okay, so we had this issue last time. So if you can reconnect to the yeah, if you can just disconnect and reconnect to Zoom, that seemed to fix it for some people last time.
Oh, okay, let me try that.
Yeah, you just want to disconnect.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I'll let you in and then move you into the technical.
Sure, let me try that. Thank you.
Okay. So James wanted to be in the technical room. Perfect. Let me know if anyone else needs to be moved. We got Abiola, Alana, Dami, Dazana, Kezi, Michelle, Priscilla, Sayi, and Steve. You guys need to be moved. Let me know. So let me know in the chat. Okay, so there's Madavi. All right, let me let Madavi in. Madavi, gonna move to technical. Okay, Madavi, let me see if you can, let me put you in the technical room real fast.
Okay.
And then hopefully everything should work. Alrighty. All right, anyone that's currently in the lobby that needs to be moved into one of the breakouts, let me know. You can either unmute yourself or you can just drop me a message in the chat. I got Steve, I got Sayi, I got Priscilla, Kezi, Desana, Dami, Alana, and Aviola.
Hello, Will.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Vincent. I'm on the phone. So
Okay.
you can help me.
Yeah. Which room did you want to join?
Thank you.
Technical or non-technical?
Technical.
Okay. Just make sure to mute yourself once you get back when you're in the room.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All righty. Hello, Abigail. Did you want to join one of the breakout sessions? Abigail, let me know if you want to join the technical or non-technical breakout session.
Technical, please.
No problem. All right. Sorry
Yeah,
about
we're excited to connect with you, and I'm blushing now in the spotlight. So I'll stop there, and I will make one more plug. A resume can make a big difference. I'll drop a template again in the chat. It's from UT, so sorry, it's not an HBCU, but it is a great template that even I think at any professional level is really great and helps you, kind of bring to light many different things that you've worked on and different experiences you've had. So hopefully that'll be helpful to people.
I think that's awesome. So a resume template. So for all of our candidates, if you're looking for a great resume template before you upload to us, definitely check that out in the chat from Emily. So Emily, thank you for sharing those next steps and that insight. And what I always like to do at the end of our events is two things. I want to get a photo shot, like a photo out real quick. So if everybody wants to turn on their video feed and just give me your smiling face for a moment, what I'll do is I will take a photo shot of all of the smiling faces. And then I'm going to give our last words to our keynote. So Dissy, once we get done with the photo op, I'll let you kind of close us out with any advice that you'd like to give the candidates or any encouragement you'd like to give the candidates for those next steps. All right, so everybody, if you want to turn on your video feed and say cheese, I want to get a quick snapshot for us to remember this awesome event. All right, let's do it. Cheese. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so thank you all. So, my quick words of encouragement, actually, let me pass it over to Dissy. So Dissy, whatever words of encouragement or advice you have.
I wasn't prepared for that, but I just want to just encourage candidates that just feel free to reach out, whether it's to Emily, myself, anyone who was on this call that you feel like reaching out to, do that. I would also just say that, just focus on the people. Again, it's kind of weird, but make that personal connection, not just the ask, not just the job, but I think also in any situation or networking events that you go to, I would just say, try to look for mentors And when I personally do that, I try to look for people who are quite different from myself or complementary to give me a new perspective on things. So I would say go after, fresh perspective as you go through your search, as you update your CV, reach out, share your CVs with me, ask me any questions. I'm very good at responding. I'm not afraid to do that with, I don't know, I mean, 54 people on the line, but, do reach out. I will respond. And I'm pretty sure everybody on the line feels that way as well. So that would be my last word. And thank you so much again, Will, for inviting us to this and giving us this platform as well.
My pleasure. I want to thank you, not only as a keynote, but sharing your background and being open to networking and offering to respond to our candidates. And I want to thank all of the Visa team for taking the time out to volunteer to be a part of this event. I mean, without the Visa team and your time and your experience and your insight, we wouldn't be able to make this event possible. And to all of our candidates, let me thank you personally for attending. We cannot have these events if you all do not show up. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to learn more about Visa. Don't forget to submit your resume and look out for an email from us recapping the next steps for landing a potential internship or job after graduation with Visa. So thank you all. Have a great evening and enjoy your Thursday night. And we look forward to hearing some good news about folks landing interviews, internships, and jobs with Visa. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Tamika.
Bye.
Good evening. Thanks,
care.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.